Hi, it's Tammy, NZ Gastric Sleeve. I'm coming at you at my week 2 post-op update. I had vertical sleeve gastrectomy on the 21st of May 2014 at Wellington Regional Hospital with Mr. Simon Ban. I'm still off work at the moment. My parents go back home tomorrow and I am off work until Monday. However, I will need to go into work tomorrow as my team is actually under review, restructure at the moment, and I have to go in tomorrow to find out whether I've still got a job. So this week has been quite a lot of stress, and not from the surgery. So before we get into that, I'll get into the numbers. My starting weight was 113 kilo, 113.6 kilos or 250.4 pounds. My starting weight of my pre-op diet was 103.9 kilos or 229 pounds. My week 1 or last week's weight was, no, sorry, that was surgery weight, 103.9. Last week I was 99.8 or 220 pounds. And this week I was 98.3 kilos or 216.7 pounds. So that's a loss of 1.5 kilos or 3.3 pounds for the week. So yes, that brings me to a total loss of 15.3 kilos, or hang on, what's the pounds in that? 33.7 pounds since I started. So that starting weight was about 6 months pre-surgery, and when I started having the counselling sessions and seeing the dietitian and that sort of thing. So for anyone who has been watching my journey, has been a long time. I've been making videos for a year now, and only 2 weeks post-op. So my second week, as I said, I've had quite a bit of stress this week, and most of it hasn't been from the surgery or my eating. It has been from work and potentially being made redundant and having to apply for new roles, which is a bit sad for me because I've only been there just over 6 months and my plan was to give them 5 years. So while I was giving them 5 years, they're potentially not giving me quite so much. When the proposal for the restructure came out 2 days after surgery, I was safe. Since then I've had a phone call from my boss saying that because of some of the feedback, that she doesn't think that I will be safe when the final structure is announced tomorrow. So that has been some stress as far as what I'm going to do. Wellington's a very small town, and so already I've had a couple of agencies ring me with roles that they want me for. So I'm not terribly worried about not having a job, but it's still not what I need right now. And also on a personal level, my family trust that I got put ahead of when my brother died has been giving me headaches as well, which is weird because I get nothing out of it. But that's not weight loss surgery related. NSVs this week, actually I kind of started having them last week, but my rings don't fit anymore. I have dug out a couple of old rings that used to fit on that finger that now fit easily on this finger and probably won't for too much longer. So I haven't worn my wedding rings in probably 6 days, and I won't until I get down to gold because there's no point in getting them resized before that. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing. I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't think it would happen quite so quickly. What else has been going on to me? So I've been on mushies all week. I did try some boneless roasted chicken that my family was having, and instead of putting it in the actual food processor, I mushed it up with a fork into little pieces. It was probably more on the soft food side than the mushy side, but I tolerated that perfectly fine. I have yet to find anything, touch wood, that my sleeve rejects, which I think is a good and a bad thing. And so yeah, my calories have been creeping up. I did have one day where I was in the 700 odd calories. However, 50 of those calories come from my chewable vitamins, so it's probably still not too bad. I have found that I've had to start adding a couple of shakes as well as my 3 meals, just to be able to get anywhere near the protein. I think one day I've managed to get 60 grams of protein in, and that day was because I had 2 shakes, and then I made a prawn bisque that I in the food processor made 2 servings worth, and put 5 prawns into it and mixed them in, so they were quite they had quite a lot of the chopped prawn in the actual soup. So that was like 24 grams of protein. Almost as good as actually better than my Optifast shakes. So I haven't been back to my protein shakes since a couple of days post-op, as I found them really heavy on my tummy. I didn't reject them as such, it was just I felt really uncomfortable having them, so I went back on to having the Optifasts for the shakes instead of my protein shake, the local protein shake that I bought, which is a lot higher in protein. I might try this week to have that and reintroduce that. So I've kind of gone introducing more to try and get more of the protein in, and then having to peg back because I felt I was starting to have too much. So it's definitely a bit of a balancing act, but I go back to work next Monday, so that would probably be the biggest test. As certainly I've found when I've been out in the day, I've found it harder to get that water in, because you get busy doing what you're doing and you forget that you need to be sitting there drinking all the time to be able to get it in. I've managed to catch up. I can pretty much swallow almost as much as what I could pre-surgery, obviously not sculling or anything, but as far as what is going down and being able to catch up. So one other thing that I wanted to show you today, this morning I have taken my dressings off my incision, so I wanted to show you that. Okay, so these bruises down here are from the injections, so I had to have a week of Clexane injections post surgery for blood clotting. This little one up here, that dressing came off about 5 or 6 days ago, and it's just starting to kind of scab over. These 3 here have only had dressings come off today. So these are 2 port sites, which are a bit bigger than what I was expecting. They obviously had to do a bit of manoeuvring, but I only ended up with 4 port sites. And this one here is where my stomach came out, and it's been doing really well. This one over here, which still has a couple of steri strips on it, is my drain site. So it wasn't a port site as well, it was just my drain site. So I had the 4 port sites, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the drain site. So that's just got a couple of steri strips on it because it was still a little bit kind of gunk coming out, because they didn't actually, these ones they internally stitched with dissolving stitches, where this one had the drain, so they just pulled the drain out and put a dressing on it. So that will have a wee bit longer before that really heals up. So I'm hoping in another week they'll be healed to a point where I can actually start some swimming. So I've done a little bit of walking, but certainly not as much as what I'd be hoping for. Once I go back to work, there'll be a bit more activity. thrown in there. And also I didn't want to start anything until I did go back to work, because I didn't want to take a backward step when I went back to work. So I wanted to get back to work and kind of deal with that before I started introducing any sort of active exercise. I have been down to the mall a couple of times and been up and down the shops, probably a couple of k's worth of walking, but not active walking as and doing while I'm doing other stuff. So yeah, that's been me this week. So NSV's the ring's not fitting. I started last night to try on some of my work clothes to see what I'll be going back to work in, and I definitely need to do a bit of a clean out of what's in my closet. Most of my jeans that I was wearing before are not fitting. The ones I'm wearing at the moment I only started wearing probably a week before the surgery, and that was from weight that I lost in that pre-op stage. So yeah, it's starting to come off. I'm starting to notice it a little bit. Still plenty to go, obviously, but definitely starting to notice it in my clothes. And yeah, I mean, this top here is Jeans West, which is an Australian company, and it's a size large. So it's still a bit tight. My mother probably wouldn't want me wearing it out. She'd consider it too tight. This black top underneath is also a large from Max. So I'm hoping that these will kind of see me through probably at least another 20 kilos as I kind of shrink into them. I'd rather buy stuff that's tight now and wear it for a little bit longer than wait until it fits and I only wear it for a couple of weeks. So yeah, that's what is up with me. And so I suppose probably the biggest change for you guys, that those who have me on Facebook would have already seen a photo. So on Saturday I got my hair cut and coloured. So I tried to get it coloured closely to what my natural colour is. It's probably a little bit darker than what my natural colour is, but just so that I don't have to keep going back and getting it dyed pretty much for the rest of this calendar year, so I can get through that kind of hair loss stage. I've already noticed quite a bit of shedding pre-op, not so much since I've had it cut. So basically the length, because I certainly had probably 3 or 4 inches cut off, the length was getting to a stage where in the back of my neck it would end up into this big dreadlocked kind of mess, and just trying to brush that out meant that I lost so much hair. So chopping it off was just really to kind of save what hair I have for a little bit longer. Also, it's starting to get tangled in like my handbag and that sort of thing. So yeah, I quite like it. It's a bit redder than what I was expecting and a bit darker than what I was expecting, because I did definitely want to go close to my natural colour. But yeah, we'll see how that lasts me for a wee while. So that's probably all I've got for this update. See you guys next week.